going to go ahead and get started today. This is our annual meeting that we have to have yearly. We've got a great turnout. I thank everybody for being here, because anytime we have any type of disaster national that affects the county, then it pretty much involves all of us. So we're here also to talk about the hurricane season, which this is the El Nino. It's supposed to be an active year. We've been very beneficial on our rainfall. Everything's green, but they still classify us in Gonzales as in a drought situation. As everybody probably knows, that we have the New World screwworm, which is a very negative thing that's happening with the flies and the larvae and affecting our cattle and our wildlife. And we do have some of our Animal Health Commission folks here today, and I want to thank y'all very much, because I know y'all are extremely busy, but this is something that could affect us. It could not be very long. For those of you that have never messed with the New World screwworm in the 70s, I was a kid, and I had the opportunity to doctor that on some of the cattle that we had with my father, and that's one of the most nastiest things you'll ever see, and you really have to do it in a pristine manner, because you got to kill everything that you dig out, and then you have to doctor it, because if you don't kill it, whatever hits the ground is going to come back. They're probably going to tell you a whole lot more about that, so I'm not going to say about it. Used to in the old days, there was a smear 57, 67, that's what, 62 that we used to use, and it was a nasty deal, but I think now they're using the Prometheans, and I'll say, and they can probably correct me if I'm wrong, on the New World screwworm, we have better wormers now than we did in the 70s. And we do have some wormers that I think last 3 weeks to maybe a month, that if it happens that you can do that. But the next negative thing on that is people are stocking up on that now, and hopefully we won't go short on that. Anyway, we have Jimmy. I'm going to turn it over to Jimmy to get started. What we're going to do is, since Animal Health is here, we're going to let them go first, because I know they have an extreme amount of work that they're doing, and I do want to thank them for all of the work that they do. They've been great partners with us. They've come here and done numerous trainings preparing for this New World screwworm, and we love hosting them. They're a great organization, and right now they're inundated. So I'm not going to say any more. Jimmy, where are you at? I'm going to let Jimmy go, and then we'll move from there. Thank y'all for being here.
Right quick, I want to thank our elected officials who are here, and our state partners, and all of our local partners. This meeting takes on a little more significance than what we normally have every year. So what I'd like to do, I know we posted an agenda, so what I'd like to do is kind of change that up a little bit in order and allow our state partners to go first. What I would ask is, and I've run this by them, we are recording. It is not live. It is just a recording. And then anything that we do from the state's perspective, we will run that by them before and get their permission to do what we can. Would y'all like to come up front where we can see you and then introduce yourselves? And
yeah, I didn't want to mess up the names. I only know one real good in the cowboy hat, but I'm going to let them do it, because I don't want to mess it up. I know we have some vets here.
Yeah.
So I'm Richard Myrick. I'm the region director for the Giddings region, which is where Gonzales is at. I'm a veterinarian with the Texas Animal Health Commission. I was in practice for 28 years, and then about 18 months ago I started with the Animal Health Commission. And from the day that I started 18 months ago, we've been having meetings on screwworms while they were still down in Central America. So we'll go over some of this stuff, some treatments, what's going to happen if an infestation is discovered, what we're doing down further south. So
most of y'all know me, but I'm Paul Hahn. For those that don't, I'm y'all's local inspector for Animal Health Commission.
And I'm Kelly Cochran. I'm a veterinarian with the Texas Animal Health Commission. I'm the field veterinarian for the Giddings region. I have been in practice for 22 years, and just last week is when I started my transition with the Animal Health Commission, so I am hitting the ground running this week and last week.
Yeah, no, she started on Monday and the first diagnosis came out on Tuesday, I guess. So she might have wanted to rethink her new job. So, you know, we had this slide set made up last week, and our Director of Communications, Erin Robinson, she's great, and she makes these slide sets up for us. But since this was made, we've had more cases. So I'm just going to give you a verbal update on the cases. She's been a little busy here lately to be making slides. So on June the 3rd, the first New World screwworm case popped up in Zavala County. It was a 3-week-old calf. It was an infestation on the umbilicus of that calf. Then on June the 5th, 5.6 miles south of the initial case, we had a second case in a 1-month-old baby calf, another umbilical infestation. Then on the weekend, we had a dog up in Andrews County, was where the veterinarian was. As it turned out, the people lived in New Mexico, right across the state line in Lee County, LEA County. That dog, there was a history of it traveling back and forth to Mexico. It had a grasson, is what I was told, above its eye that got infected, and it got an infestation of screwworms that the veterinarian pulled out, and it was right up by the eye. So then this week, we had another calf in LaSalle County, further south from Zavala. It was also an umbilical infestation. And then yesterday afternoon, there was another calf in LaSalle County, 13 miles north of the first case in LaSalle. Also a calf, also an umbilical infestation. I do not know the age on that calf, but with it being an umbilical infestation, you would assume a young calf. And then also yesterday, there was a reported infestation in Gillespie County in a young goat that had been banded. And so that kind of popped up yesterday, and an infestation zone was set up for Gillespie County yesterday. So they're popping up kind of quickly. So we'll see. So this was the current status a week ago. And you can see this is where we were doing fly dispersal out of the airplane. And here all along the South Texas border. And what happened was the flies came in from up here, just north of where we were putting out the flies. So the flies have been, this worked its way up from Central America out onto the Yucatan and then has been steadily climbing north. So this is what the infested zone looks like in Zavala County. So you have right here in the center will be the index case, and so the infested zone goes 20 kilometers in any direction away from that infested zone. I mean the index case. And so this is where we are setting up ground release chambers on sterile flies, setting up traps, and doing surveillance. So I can tell you on this one here in Zavala County, no I can't, let me see here. I have some numbers on how many so here in Zavala County, they have inspected 757 bovine, 99 equine, 963 ovine, 12 pigs, and there have been 0 added cases found from the infested zone. So this here is the adjacent surveillance zone where more surveillance is going on. It also is going to be 20 kilometers outside away from the infested zone. So in the infested zone, what happens when the diagnosis was made of the screwworm is we put everything under a 72-hour hold till we can get our hands wrapped around the situation, and then that gives us some time to get people in there, our inspectors, and start doing the surveillance that they have done here in Zavala. And then once that 72-hour hold is over with, animals can move in and out of the infested zone. But we need to inspect them. We need to put an identification in them. We need to treat them. And then they need to move on an animal movement certificate, which is different than the health certificate. This is completely different. I've talked to some veterinarians that are wanting to move something out of state. Well, you will need this, all of those things, the animal movement certificate, and you will need to have a health certificate done also. So on June the 3rd, on this first case, Dr. Dingus issued an executive order declaring the movement restrictions. So none of this goes into effect. He can issue the executive order, but then it's going to come to the judge, and he has to sign it and post it in the courthouse before any of this takes place. So like we said, the infested zone, 12 miles, 20 kilometers, animals will be able to move out with inspection, treatment, identification, and the movement certificate. What we are trying to stop is man-made movement of this pest. They say that a sterile fly a screwworm fly can fly about 12 miles in its lifetime. What we don't want it to do is travel 500 miles in an evening, you know, on a trailer. So we are using our compliance officers to set up inspection points on the roads coming in and out of the infested zone. We have requested help from the local law enforcement, and I think that they are using DPS to some degree down in Zavala and LaSalle counties. This has, from what I have been told, this is working out nicely. People are receptive to it. They do the inspections. They can make sure that everybody has the correct paperwork, but they can do outreach too, and let people know what's going on. So this was, as of last week, just kind of the current state in Mexico. And as you can see, there's been 27,602 animal cases in Mexico. 2,077 are active. And the one thing to know about this is only domestic animals. That's not any wildlife being reported there. And there's been 352 human cases in Mexico and 2 deaths. So, what to do if you see an animal that has fly larvae, maggots, whatever you want to call them? The first thing you ought to do is call your veterinarian. If you don't have, or if people in the county don't have a veterinarian that they deal with, it's a good time to find one that you can work with, establish a veterinary client-patient relationship with VCPR. And if you can't, somebody needs to be notified, whether it is TAHC, our office, which our office number will pop up here in a minute. First thing is call the veterinarian if you have one. You can call our office if you don't. You can call the AgriLife Extension agent. If it's in wildlife, call TPWD. So what happens is a veterinarian calls us, we have to contact the USDA. And this is a foreign animal disease, so we have to contact the USDA, give them the information on the case, owner, info, address, and what species it is, kind of where it's located on the body, and they give us a foreign animal disease number. We use that, and we will send to the veterinarian a 5-38, which is a submission form. We will send a foreign animal disease worksheet that the veterinarian fills out. All of this is easy, self-explanatory. And then they also send a FedEx overnight shipping label. And that goes to Ames, Iowa, to the National Veterinary Services Lab in Ames, Iowa. And they have been really good about within an hour, 2 hours maybe of them getting the sample, they are letting us know what it is. So far, up until last week, it was all, this is not screwworm, it is whatever. Black hairy-legged blowfly, a green blow. I didn't know there were so many different kinds of blowflies until we started I always just knew a blowfly is a blowfly. So, that is what has been going on. Since this has crossed into Texas, NVSL there at Ames has sent one of the parasitologists to Texas. They're working to where we can maybe get these results even faster. So right now they are in Kerrville. I think that they might even be moving a little bit closer to the infested zones, just so we can speed up the process, even though it was very quick. So here is just a handout that just says how to get these samples. A&M got a grant to make up these collection kits, and you know, I mean, it's nothing too extravagant. But if you don't have one of these, if you had gloves and some way to get those out of the wound, this will have forceps in it. I mean, I've even known people to use a spoon. But you want to get samples from all levels of the wound, because with these you will you'll have, you know, like I said, all the blowflies that we've had returned back as the diagnosis on the things that we've sent. You'll have multiple types of flies on one wound. Now, generally, the screwworm larvae are going to be at the deepest part of the wound because they're there eating live flesh. So that is what distinguishes a screwworm from a regular blowfly. It is the only one that eats living tissue. All the other ones eat dead necrotic tissue. So you will have multiple types of blowflies on one wound. So we want to get it from all levels of the wound, but especially the deepest. And like the judge was saying, when you're doing this, or if the veterinarian is doing this, we would rather it be done at your place rather than you hauling it to town and bouncing it down the road, because these larvae, after being a week in the wound, these larvae drop out of the wound and burrow into the ground where they pupate, and then that's what they emerge as an adult fly. So the female lays her eggs on the edge of the wound, and then they hatch out in 12 to 24 hours, crawl into the wound, spend a week in the wound, eating, drop out, they go through 3 larval stages in the wound, and then they drop out. So if you're dealing with one of these, it would be good to have a tarp or something. We don't want any of these screwworm larvae to fall out onto the ground, because they can just crawl into the ground, pupate, and then have the adult emerge. So the other thing is we are sending these in 70% alcohol. So you know, most veterinarians are trained to send samples in formaldehyde, and we've had some problems. But these, the parasitologists want it sent in alcohol. Here is, this is the regions, how it's broke up for the Animal Health Commission. Laredo, Pleasanton, Giddings, this is our region that y'all are in here. Sulphur Springs, Stephenville, and Amarillo. So So like we talked about just now, you want to get the sample from the deepest part of the wounds, the other secondary flies over there, and send it in alcohol. So the biggest thing that we are trying to do to stop this pest is we want to prevent contact with the New World screwworm and non-infested animals. So that is why we are doing the movement controls, treatment, and then inspections, because we have to prove to other states that we are doing everything in our power to prevent the spread of this to other states, because just like the United States did to Mexico, other states can shut their borders off and refuse to accept animals from Texas. And so that is what we have got to do everything in our power to prevent this from traveling out of here on a trailer. I saw a figure a while back, and it was from the USDA, but at any moment in time during a day, there are 1 million head of bovine cattle on our roadways and 4 million head of swine on our roadways at any point in time during the day. And so with that much movement, we have to be sure what we're doing. So here again, you see the index point there, and you see the 20-kilometer infested zone. So when it says 20 kilometers or 12 miles, that whole infested zone from top to bottom, left side to right side, is going to be approximately 24 miles. And, you know, it's not going to be a perfect circle. You'll see it's going to follow the roads. So it will follow the roads. And our biggest thing is the continuity of business, but we have to do it in the right way. So where we are treatment-wise, you know, what has been used in the past to push these things back down into Mexico was a sterile insect technique. It works, but our problem right now is there's only one place in the Western Hemisphere that makes the sterile flies, and that is the Copeg plant down in Panama. They can make 100 million flies a week, sterile flies a week. It's probably estimated that if this, which it has gotten into Texas now, but we will probably need 500 million flies. Mexico, with some money from USDA, about $21 million, they're converting a fruit fly plant, sterile fruit fly plant in Matapa, Mexico into a screwworm sterile fly plant. Hopefully it will be open by the end of this month, end of next month. That's another 60 to 100 million flies there. And then we're building a screwworm plant down at Moore Air Base, Mission, Edinburgh, down there. It's going to be built in 3 phases. The first phase probably won't be done until about this time next year, June, July next year. With that, we'll have another 100 million flies. And then by the end of next year, the plant will be in full operation. That will be 300 million flies. But we're probably 18 months away from being in full operation. So we need to do our best on trying to keep this as contained as possible. When these things come out, we are in these infested zones. Like I say, we have ground traps that we can set out, and those can release 4 million flies. So we are setting out those ground traps and releasing sterile flies that way. We are also, and so all of those flies that are made down in Panama, they're all being shipped up here. That is where we're getting our sterile flies from right now. So the 110 million that they make in a week, those things are refrigerated. The pupa are refrigerated. They're flown up to more air base, and then that is what we are dispersing. So the aerial dispersal is going on over these infested zones in Zavala, LaSalle County. Last I heard, late last night, they are trying to get set up for ground release in Gillespie County. And so we're doing everything in our power with the sterile flies that we have to try to keep this as isolated as possible. We've also been meeting for a long time with drug companies to get some FDA approvals on drugs, and we'll go over those right here quick. So this was the first thing that was approved back quite a while ago, and this is just some permethrin sprays. This Catron 4, Prozac screwworm spray, and then the Duravet screwworm spray. These are just topical sprays. You can spray it directly on the wound. If there are larvae there, you clean out what you can and don't let it hit the ground, and then spray this on there. I talked to one of the veterinarians at A&M that had a calf with a lesion in it. We sent those fly larvae off, and it was not screwworms, but it was in the umbilicus, and he said he thought he had all the worms cleaned out and thought he'd done a pretty good job, and then he sprayed some Catron on there, and it was amazing how many more came pouring out of that wound. These work well for topical treatment. Not a whole lot of residual here. The good thing is about these is if you have a wound down on a leg or something that you can bandage, you can spray this on there and bandage the wound, cover it, and not have any exposure for future infestations. So this is a product, I think that it has been down in Australia. It is F10 antiseptic wound spray. It has been approved under the emergency use authorization. And the one thing about the permethrin sprays, there's not any withdrawal on those. But these, you can use this on cattle, horses, minor hoof stockier, sheep and goats. The one thing about these that kind of handy, you can use it on birds, so chickens and stuff like that. There is a 30-day meat withdrawal, 10-day milk withdrawal. I haven't ever used it. It wasn't ever available when I was in practice, but I have heard from people that this is a pretty good product. And also with that, that spray, this is just an ointment. It can, same thing, you can use it on birds. Same meat and milk withdrawal. This is a powder that has an antibiotic in it, has a parasiticide in it, and from what I have heard, it works really well. The thing about this, I had a veterinarian call last week and was wanting to know how to get some. They had a client that had a place here in Texas and in Panama, and they said that this product worked really well, and they were looking for some. This, when I checked on it, it is only in the USDA stockpile, so it is only available to USDA right now. They told me that it might become available to state animal health officials, even less likely that it's going to become available to veterinarians, and it will not be available to individuals. They said the reason for is if you're going to use this stuff, you're supposed to put on full PPE, gloves, and use a mask and a respirator to use it. So I don't see that one being available to the general public. Dectomax, long-time dewormer. I used it a lot in practice. Liked it as a dewormer for intestinal parasites in cattle, sheep, goats too. It works great on screwworms. It is a treatment and prevention. You have to remember it takes about 48 hours for it to take effect and get in the bloodstream at levels good enough to treat the screwworm larvae. And it will prevent for up to 21 days. There is a 35-day withdrawal, and this is only the injectable. This does not pertain to the Poron Dectomax. It is not labeled for use in treatment of screwworms. Here's some other doses for other species, other species and for dairy cattle. Pretty much the same, a 19-day milk withdrawal in dairy cattle. Had a veterinarian the other day call about how to use it in a horse. And, with Ivomec injectable, you can use that in horses, giving it to them orally. So I had to call and check on that, and they did say giving it to a horse, cc per 110 pounds in the muscle. This one is an interesting one. It's a new, this is the Poron that you can use. It is a treatment and prevention. Where Dectomax was 21 days, this is 14 days. The problem with it is a 98-day withdrawal period. So we'll have to be careful on using that. But I hear that this works very well. The Floroliner drug that is that, and we'll see here in just a little bit, that is also a dog and cat flea and tick preventative called Provecto. So this, from what I hear, is a very good product, and it will keep horn flies and stuff off of your cattle for an extended period of time. Ivomec, wormer that's been around forever. It is listed as a prevention, not a treatment. They say to use it if you 24 hours of birth or at the time of dehorning and castration. The reason it is a prevention and not a treatment is how we were talking about the life cycle of the screwworm, and it lays the eggs. They hatch out, go through 3 larval stages in the wound while they're eating. This Ivomec will kill the larval stage 1, which is the first larval stage that enters a wound after it hatches out. It will not eliminate larval stage 2 and 3. In larval stage 1, they're only in that stage for about 24 hours. Here's some dog and cat screwworm preventatives. We have the Cordelio, and then here's Cordelio Quattro, which is the heartworm preventative, intestinal worm. So just a souped up version of Cordelio. And then we have NexGard and NexGard combo for cats. And then, like I said, the Brevecto here recently has been approved for that, for screwworms. So this here is another reason to have a veterinary client-patient relationship. If you're going to use any of those products in some of the minor species, you have to have veterinary approval. It has to be under the direction or prescription of a licensed veterinarian. So here's kind of an overview of all of them. And at some of these meetings that I've done on screwworms, I've had people come up and just say, well, I'm just going to give Dectomax every 21 days to keep the screwworm away. We cannot do that. I mean, the more, we already have a resistance problem with Ivomec on intestinal parasites. If we use this Dectomax every 21 days, we're going to build up a resistance to the internal parasites. So we have to be judicious in our use, and then we also have to look at the withdrawal times on food safety. So what we are telling people, I have heard some people say that if I get it, I'm just going to treat screwworms and not call anybody. We need to know where they're at. We need to know where these infestations pop up, because the quicker we can get on it with our ground release traps and get sterile flies in the area, the quicker we can resolve this. This is just some of the traps that we have set out along the border. We have sent in, since we've set these out probably a year ago, Paul, would you say? A little over a year. We've had up to 101 traps along the border. We've sent in over 54,000 flies and haven't gotten any positive flies on screwworm. What you can do now, the good management leads to good prevention. I was out doing some TB testing at a ranch, and they had a place here in Texas, and they also had a place in Panama. And while I was out there, I asked the owner, I said, what do y'all do with screwworms down there? And he said, oh, they're there. He said, we monitor our cattle, we observe them, we check them on a regular basis. He said, we generally get them up about once a week and give them kind of an enhanced inspection. And he said, if we see anything, we treat it immediately. He said, now we do dip navels. on the calves when they're born. We go out there with iodine and treat the navel because this pest has an affinity for the navel on newborns. And but he said we get along fine. We manage it fine. And so it's not the end of the world. The sky's not falling. It can be managed. Now, he also did tell me, as far as like the wildlife goes, he said you might see a monkey fall out of a tree every now and then and be eat up with screwworms. But he said as far as our domesticated animals, we do fine. So, you know, some other things that you can do. Of course, everybody inspect your animals like they do down there in South America. You know, there's always something in the pins, in the chute. There's always a little piece of metal that's sticking out in the snake going up to the chute. There's always something causing little injuries. Look for those. Fix them now. And then put your bulls out or schedule your calving, kidding, lambing, whatever, for cooler times of the month. You know, normally I turn my bulls out on April 1st. This year I backed it up to March 1st, and I picked them up on June 1st. That way my cows are calving in December, January, February. So things like that you can do now, and you know, it didn't really change my program a whole lot. The other thing is any procedures that you do, try to do in cooler months. And you know, it says vaccination, of course, tagging, you're putting a wound there. They say that something as small as a tick bite is enough to attract a female screwworm. That's a big enough wound. So just keep that in the back of your mind if you're in an area where screwworms have been found. And then, like I said, the prevention of wounds. If you get on if you see anything, get on it quickly. So monitor your animals. Can't stress that enough, and can't stress enough report if you see a wound with maggots on it. And then, like we talked about, try to get someone to come out to your place and not load whatever you have and bounce it down the road, dropping out larvae all along the road. And so, you know, this isn't the end of the world. You know, my dad had to deal with screwworms when he was a kid. He told me one time I'd read an article about what the biggest advancement in agriculture was in your lifetime, and I asked him, and he quickly responded, the invention of the round bale and getting rid of New World screwworms. And last week, he told me, he said, you know, he said, I never thought I'd see screwworms back here in my lifetime after we fought it and got it pushed down. But he did say, he said, we learned how to manage with them until we could get them pushed down, and we'll do that again. So, that's it, Judge.
Thank you very much. Y'all have time for any questions?
Yeah.
I would just say, I know that they're busy, but does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask?
I would, Judge. Poultry.
Poultry.
We got a lot of movement of poultry in this county. A lot. What are your thoughts on the chickens?
As long as this is not an infested zone, everything goes just like it is now. Now, if it does work its way up here, that's just a bridge we're going to have to cross on something to that scale, that we're getting a lot of experience down there in Zavala on what works.
We prefer you practice now.
Exactly. So we'll have, by the time, if it gets up here, we'll have that worked out on the large scale things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we see transport chicken trucks everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So I was driving behind one the other day at, of course, 60 miles an hour. And I thought, that's interesting. They're moving to the Tyson plant.
Yeah. No. I'm sure that there's somebody much smarter than me that has already addressed that question. So
Sure, there will be inspections and
yeah, I mean, of course there'll be
there
inspections.
will be
and
movement
stuff.
permits and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
we'll have to address it when.
So same thing applies to them, basically.
Oh yeah, no, I mean any warm-blooded animal moving.
Like I said, that's something we'll have to get a judge about and do when it does, if it does.
I think Judge is ready to go. He just-
Yeah, and what I've done, I've got the disaster declaration, but once I sign it, it's good for 7 days until it is presented to the court to extend it for the indefinite purpose. So I'm gonna be proactive, and I was gonna do it this last one, but we had already posted the agenda. So I am going to actually sign it on the 15th, because we meet again 7 days later, and then just put it in effect, and it'll be there.
Good.
That's just what little bit that we can do for now that happen. Now, if something happens between now and then it happens, I'll go ahead and sign it, and then I may have to issue it several times before it can get to Commissioner's Court to pass it to where it needs to be. But I do appreciate y'all coming down, and our facilities are your facilities, and y'all are welcome. And I know y'all have prepared, and I've had the opportunity to watch them, how they set up, and they did everything. And I know y'all are ready, and y'all are working on it hard, and we do appreciate all that you're doing. The best thing for us is just to keep monitoring for those that have livestock, or if you see any type of wild animal that may be even on the side of the road or something. That's something that we need to stop, check it, and if it's there, we need to call and to get on it as soon as we can.
Yeah. It doesn't cost anything to ship a sample off. Better to know than to think, no, that's nothing to worry about.
The faster you report, the faster the flies get here.
Yeah.
So I have a legal question, and I don't think our county attorney is here, but the
Our
judge.
attorney's not here either.
Once he signs the declaration, does that give law enforcement the authority to stop and check?
So what happens on this deal and what has been going on is, so we go out, inspect an animal, find a screwworm larvae, or find a larvae. So we collect it, we send it to Kerrville, where the parasitologist is at right now. They look at it. If they say, yeah, this is concerning, it goes to NVSL. If they look at it and say, this is whatever, a green blowfly, goes to NVSL. NVSL at Ames reads it, says, yes, this is a screwworm. Dr. Dingus, the state veterinarian, signs an executive order and then it comes to you, and then as soon as you sign it and post it, the infested zone is created.
And you're inundated by us.
You're gonna what?
And you will be inundated by inspector.
Well, I mean, my question would be, and I probably should be letting the sheriff ask that, but
We would probably.
does that declaration under the transportation code or under the emergency order from the judge give the authority to local law enforcement, if we see one going down the road, to stop them and say, do you have that certificate?
If they are in the infested zone or trying to leave the infested zone.
Oh, they would have to have the credentials to do it.
Which will have road stops also.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
our
so we will be
compliance
set up.
team will be set up on road stops.
For any type of
And
livestock.
then using
Probably have a sheriff
local
deputy
law
with us.
enforcement.
Okay, that's what I was getting.
Yeah. No, when our compliance team gets here, when the infested zone is set up.
Publicly, it's in the zone.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
no. They're using local law enforcement and some DPS, I think, down in
When
Zavala.
it's here, y'all will be trained up very
Hopefully it
quickly.
won't happen, but there is a possibility. I mean, there's a good possibility. And the thing about it is for us as a county, if there's anything on whatever, when y'all come here that you need, please let us know, because we will assist you in any way, whether it be, don't matter what it is. Just
No, y'all have been great
Yes.
to us, and so appreciate it.
Any other questions? So I do have one on the injectable. If you do give it to them, I know you said that the one, it takes a few hours, I mean a day or so before it's, but if you hadn't, but y'all would be here anyway. Our veterinarian would be here to kill the larvae, give them, it wouldn't hurt to give them that shot too, because that it'll do it. But it will kill that one will kill all 3 stages.
Dectomax will. Ivomec only gets larval stage 1.
And the boron's, I think it's 14 days, and injectable is almost,
21.
Is 21. Somebody had asked me that question. I said, I don't know that answer. I figured that the injectable would last a little bit longer.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, sir.
You mentioned encounters with humans in Mexico. What should we look for? Or is there anything to look for?
From what I understand on humans, you know, it's any wet mucous membrane or wound. But what I understand on humans is a lot of times crawl up the nose. People fall asleep outside or something, fly lays the eggs, they crawl up into the nasal.
It's a lot different living conditions down there than it is here. So I doubt we'll see as bad the human condition.
But
And the actual screwworm fly has a green tint to it. Is that
Bluish green.
bluish green?
But
Always.
it looks a lot like a normal balloon. So without a microscope and sent into a lab, it's going to be almost impossible to distinguish.
About the same size and everything.
they're all about the same size. But the one thing, you know, we've been getting lots of pictures there at the office, and a lot of the pictures, I mean, we've had people send pictures of snail shells, and one was kind of broken open, and they said a screwworm crawled out of that shell. That's a pupil. But we've had everything, and but a lot of the flies that we're getting pictures of are just a common blowfly, and they're real green. They're kind of easy to pick out, and with these cameras, the thorax is green, the abdomen's real bright green, and so those are kind of easy to say, yeah, that's a common blowfly.
But it's highly unlikely y'all will see it fly. You're going to find it through the larva or through the magazine.
Yeah, you won't see the fly.
Infestation.
You'll see the actual bad stuff.
On our traps, we have not detected any screwworm flies, so
They're specialized for it.
yeah.
And the life of the screwworm fly is? Guess
Female lives about 14 days, the male lives about 28 days. And the males are not attracted to blood serum. They're nectar feeders. They live up in the trees feeding on nectar. The female is the only one that is attracted to the serum and blood.
Great information. Well, if there's no further questions, I want to thank all 3 of you for coming and taking your time out to give us this valuable information. So it poses us to be vigilant, to see what's going on, and then if something happens, then to report it to our local law enforcement, the veterinarian, Jimmy, myself, because we will start making the phone calls that need to be done. I know y'all are extremely busy, and thank y'all again, and give everybody, let's give them a big hand for what they do.